Okay, here we go. And wow, and I think we are we're live. We're live, Binky. Yeah, we are live right now on RadiAsian. The
Hey,
hello.
everyone. Good morning.
Oh yeah, because it's actually 10 o'clock in the morning right now where you are in California.
Yes, sir.
Oh wow, wow, absolutely superb. Well, firstly, thank you for phoning in. To do this interview. I'm in love with your with the new album, the
Oh,
Last
thank you.
Valentino. Not it's
Thank
it's it's brilliant. Every track on it is a work of art in itself, and you know, I got to start off with the first question basically. Okay, what song resonated with me straight away within the album? I know it's gonna sound a bit weird. Was the devil in my arms?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so see, I noticed a smile on your face there, but for me, I'm not going to say any names, but it reminds me of an ex partner and how my life used to be. So so it sounds different to everything else on the album, see Binky. So tell me more about that track in particular.
That was a track I was debating if it would fit on the album, because it was so different. And that's why I made it the last track.
Yeah,
Because once you had the other songs that went so cohesively together, I that's like a story that a lot of guys go through. You never hear the guy side of the story. It's always like, the women can tell that story over and over and over. But I also had that experience, and it was like, man, I'm trying to hold it together, for the kid, and I'm putting up with all this unnecessary stuff, and to keep everybody safe. I'll hold the devil in my arms, and I think I think once people really dig deep, or if they get into the record, they can really relate to that, because everyone had to have, you know, that experience where, I, in my particular case, she was really just beautiful, when she was calm, and but then when she would drink, and she would come to like this other person, and I really wanted to do like a video, but I didn't think I can bring it really to justice to tell the story, because I wanted it to be really like, kind of, eerie, and have a dark side, and you know but that's that story.
wow. But even the vocal sound on the track is totally different as well. Like even the vocal production, the way it was, whatever effects you've put on the voice, they're so different. It actually it threw me. But the words of the song, I think I must have heard it 7 or 8 times now, and I've heard it 4 times today.
Yeah, because I didn't want to, like, I could have sang it really soulful and made it. I didn't want people to miss the quirkiness of the story. You know what I mean? Because it just goes like, you're saying something so dark, and it has that twist to it that, whoa, if you really listen, give it a chance, you're like, wow, this is intense, and it's never ever been, that I can recall, been a told in a story that way.
Wow, 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 Vinky, wow. So, I noticed that you're you're a big fan of John Mayer. So tell me more about John Mayer.
John Mayer is just a guy, at a time when when no one was doing, like really, really real music. His songs would resonate like, Daughters, and Gravity. His lyrics, and his songs were, even the first song when he first came on the scene, Waiting for the World to Change, was just great soulful tune. It was like, wow, this guy is writing some really, really fantastic stuff, and he's putting down some really good, just stuff that I could feel, when there was nothing there. for quite some time. And then I know had turned some guys on to him because he's kind of like a soulful rock. And I know a lot of guys that just like, hardcore pedal to the metal rock. So they weren't into John Mayer. But when I said, man, give this guy a chance, check it out. They was like, yeah, man, this guy's okay.
Wow. So you did your take on Gravity, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. You heard that?
No, I didn't. I've been trying to find the bloody thing. I thought to myself, because
I think it's only available on SoundCloud. I haven't, if it's still there, but that's where it was. It was just like when I first started, to bring an album, I did this take on Gravity, and it got a really good response. People were saying that it was better than Mayer's version, because mine was more rocky. It sounded like Prince, it was big. It was like Purple Rain or something. It had that type of, drivingness to it. And so I wanted to take a different approach because I didn't want to make it just like his version, which was, pretty, soft, and it builds up in the end. Mine just kind of just went balls in and then just really big at the end.
Wow.
So yeah, if you can catch it on SoundCloud, I think it's there somewhere under Binky Womack or Curtis Womack or something.
Brilliant, Binky. What it is? I was trying to find it. I was thinking, damn, I can't flipping find the track. I thought what I'll do is I'll check it out on there. If you could shoot me an email, like an MP3 of it over, please, because what it is, after this video interview, what I'm going to do, I'm going to extract the audio from this, then I'm going to do the radio show afterwards, and I will put the audio from the interview at the end of the show, and then I'll throw all the songs in. So I wanted to add Gravity into that, so I had to ask you about that, so it's important. Binky, I can't believe I've actually got you on the line. That's the first thing, which is superb. You're a very grounded, humble individual, and you work bloody hard as well. So where did it all start? It's probably public knowledge, but just tell the listeners or the viewers.
Yeah, well, I was growing up in a music family, and it was like my grandfather. He was deeply rooted in gospel, and he brought his sons, which were the Womack brothers, known as the Valentinos and the Womack brothers, Bobby Womack, Cecil Womack, Womack and Womack, and all the stuff that they did started out, through my grandfather's guidance, and he took them into the church where, at that time, that's where all the music was. Sam Cooke and all these guys, were gospel players, and they would go from church to church to church across the country doing gospel show, and they were known as the Womack brothers. I think they were like, my Uncle Cecil said he was 3 at the time, that he had to stand on a crate, like a milk crate, in order to reach the mic so they can all sing in harmony. So that's where it started. When I was born, or that's right around when Sam Cooke was murdered, and they had left gospel to come into secular music. So they were just getting their start. They had come to California, and after the death of Sam, they were scrambling for, what do we do now? What do we do now? So they all started writing and doing different productions and playing different roles in music at that time, which was R&B. So my uncle Bob was playing guitar for like Aretha Franklin and guys like Wilson Pickett, and he was writing all these songs, and he became an artist. And then the Valentinos were a separate act, and then they had the track where the Rolling Stones came over and covered their track and kind of took that record over. So that's where I come from. I mean, music was always around. And when I was like elementary school, my uncle was at the top of his game. He was playing with everyone, Sly Stone, and all these guys were like together, like Marvin Gaye lived up the street, and like Mick Jagger and Ron Wood would come over to the house. And so I was seeing all this, as a kid, and I would go to rehearsals and, at like SIR, and I was just taken in by all this. And I think I got my first guitar, I was like 4. So I was playing guitar, and I had like a little turntable. I would sit down and I could put the records on, and the little 45s. I had like a kind of, I don't know what it was called, but you put it on it, and it was just, you could put the needle on, and it played all in one combo unit. So I used to listen to all the records. And then my uncle Cecil was married to Mary Wells. So I had that. And then all my friends were like, their dad was like Kerry Gordy, was Berry Gordy's son. And my friend Chris, his dad was Bob Dylan. So all these guys were always around, and my best friend, his dad was George Clinton. So if I wasn't at the Parliament Funkadelic show in Maze backstage, like just watching, I was at Bob Dylan's house, or I was at with Marvin Gaye Jr. And music was just there. It was all over. So it was just natural that being around so much singing, like with the OJs and just everybody was, I was just like backstage behind the scenes with all of that music. And I just grew up through there. I wanted to get good enough to play, because I always wanted to play. I had my guitar since I was 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think I got my chops up pretty good. And they'd be like, let's hear what you got. And they'd say, just keep practicing. You're going to get better. And I would just keep practicing. I come back and, what about now? So by the time I was in high school, I was good enough to play with all these guys. So I started to tour with my uncle. I think my first day when I graduated high school, he was on tour opening for the Stones.
Wow.
And that was and then I would play with my Aunt Mary. And I mean, I think some of the biggest crowds I played were with her, because I remember we were at one place outside. I don't know where we were, but it was people you could, as far as the eye could see, all the way back, all sides, and we're playing like My Guy and You Beat Me to the Punch, and I became like the band director guy, because every night they had a different band, because they just traveled to a city. We'd meet the band and it's like, okay, this is the band, and we'd go over the tunes, and they kind of just like would leave it to me. So I had a lot of training like that. And then my Uncle Cecil moved to Philadelphia, and he was a part of Gamble and Huff, the whole Philadelphia sound. He was writing for Teddy Pendergrass and, Bloodstone. He was writing for all of these people. He had all these records out. And then I would play on his records, and I would play on some of my Uncle Bob's records. So it's like I just came up like that. And then when I got into my own right, I was producing. I mean, rap was out, and this was like my era. So I was producing, with Snoop, and I was working for Grand Jury, which was producing, a lot of people, and I was doing remixes for. We had like this deal with like Interscope, and Interscope had a vast reach. So every record that was out, like whether it's TLC or whatever was in the top 10, I was mixing like maybe like 50% of those records. So
wow.
It just came up through the channels like that. And then I was so I never wanted to be like the guy, because I didn't like, music is there's no right or wrong. If you do a math equation, everyone's going to come up to the same answer. But if you play a song for 10 different people, one guy may love it, one guy may hate it, one guy may not get it at all. And their comparisons, when they say, well, it's kind of like a Rick James meets Bobby Womack / that would always kill me. Like, no, you don't get it. You know what I mean? So it was easy for me to like produce. Like if I produced a record with Usher and I just did the record, left it on the table, it was gone. And then I could turn around and do a record with like, somebody totally different. You had that freedom. But when you're an artist, you have to like what genre are you? And everything has to kind of fit. So when my Uncle Bob passed away,
Rest in
I
peace.
was at the funeral and it was heavy because there were people from all around the world there. You know what I mean? All music people, industry people, and they were like, "Well, dude, you need to, it's your turn now. You need to stop producing records and you need to represent this family name. Your uncle was 75 and he was still touring the world. There's people out there and you need to fill the void." And I was like, okay, well, let me think about it, because that wasn't never my thing. I was just like the guy that never had to go on tour. You know what I mean? I never had to leave home. I would just go to the studio, make a record, and, Usher would tour or Pac would tour, or Snoop would tour, wherever. And I could just jump from record to record. But I said, okay, well, let me do this record. So it's funny because I was producing my uncle's record. We had a full album, and it was amazing. It was an amazing record. And that record was going to come out after The Bravest Man. That was his plan. And after that record is when he passed. So I'm holding all of these tapes, and I'm like, what do I do with these tapes? And I said, okay, I'm going to release them myself through my own label. So I had this deal with Sony, and I released the record with my uncle singing. And everyone in the world started to sue me. They were like, no, Bobby owed this. And I had to deal with Bobby. And my cousins were suing me. And my auntie was suing me.
Wow.
And Sony was suing me. And everyone was like, no. And I'm like, okay, I have this record. And this was between my uncle. Now, just between me and him, something we did in our spare time. Now, everyone wants a piece of this record because these are like the only tapes that are unreleased or that we have, right? So Sony's like, look, man, we got to pull the record because people are coming from everywhere threatening to sue us.
Yes.
So I said, okay, what do I do, And then I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all my uncle's vocals off and I'm going to sing it myself. And that was my first record, the Womack style. And then when that record came out, and if it wouldn't have been for the lawsuits and everybody trying to not let that record come to life,
yes,
I probably would still just be producing records and never have the records out that I have now. Because after that record came out, everyone, looked at it different and they looked at me different. Like, wow, I didn't even know this guy could sing at all or anything. I thought he was just, like a musical guy, And then the second record came out, and because of my many years of producing, it took a little time for me to pull all my. It's like I described it to this one guy. I was like, it's like when Superman is Clark Kent.
Yes.
He can't just do Superman stuff. He has to do Clark Kent stuff. So my record, I remember I had records that were playing on the heavy metal and rotation because my guitar was so heavy and so wicked. Like you'll see with Gravity and I have a song called Love Is. If you listen to that song, you'd be like, man, it's heavy. So I had to tone everything down, and it took my first record, the way that came out with, that was totally my uncle. I could just put his vocals right back into the whole thing, and you'd hear that. I'm like, wow, it'd be something to hear. And then the second record, I was pulling it together. It was some R&B. It was some kind of rock, but it was toned down. It was more bluesy because the first one was just like foot to the pedal to the metal. And then this third one, I came into the whole just, okay, I see where this Womack, heritage and everything is. And I just laid into some of the grooves, and imagine I was playing with, with my father and my uncles. And we were back in that time, when music was just, would hit you right there, and that's where I am right now, writing this record, The Last Valentino, and, recording some stuff for, what will be the next record.
Binky, something, like I had a list of questions, right? and you've already addressed many of them. So one of the ones I was going to ask, how old were you when you first picked up the guitar? You've answered that. You've got an amazing voice, right? And so I take it you weren't even nervous when it come to to covering your uncle's vocals. So how long do you mentioned that you jump from track to track? Now I dabble in production, right? I'm no way on the level of someone like yourself, Binky, but to jump from track to track, I mean, that's a different mindset from track. How are you doing that?
Well, it's like, I mean, because you're like, when you're affiliated with certain labels or whatever, they'll say, we need a song. R. Kelly's looking for a song. And this is things that we would do. Like, we'd write a song for R. Kelly, right? And we take it to the label and we play it. And they listen, they're sitting there. And then they say, man, this song is great. And then they say, well, who is this guy singing? And I'd be like, oh, that's just my friend, Troy. I said, Troy, what does he look like? And then they say, well, is he signed? And he said, no, he's just singing the demo, for R. Kelly. And he's like, well, why don't you just give me some more stuff on this guy? We'll sign him. And I'll be like, well, what about the R. Kelly song, So you never really know. And then with rappers, it would be like, I would go to meet, like Frost or Baby Bash or someone, and I would just have like a track of like maybe 2 CDs would hold 40 songs. So I have like 40 beats, and we'd sit down and, they're drinking and they're smoking and hanging out, and they would, man, I like this one, and with everyone, that's the way you would pitch songs to rappers, and they would be like, okay, I like 5, 6, 7, and 10, so then that's like, okay, that's 4 songs on that guy. And then if there's some other people in the room with them, which was always because rappers were all in these big, everyone has their own big clique and crew.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was recording a record, and it was me and Frost. And Frost said, okay, I want to put Sugar Free, and it was somebody else, I can't remember. And each one of them came to my house with like 10 people. So it's like 30 people over here, and it's like, okay, man, hold on, and when they left, it was like trash and beer bottles and McDonald's wrappers all down the street, and I'm outside like looking like my neighbors, like trying to clean up. So yeah, that's what it was, jumping track to track. It was people just want to hear something, and usually you can just make the track and they'll just jump right on it, and that's pretty convenient, because you don't have to stay around and produce the record, and you just give them what they need. We need the stems for track 7. Well, what is track 7? Play it again, let me hear it. Okay, I know what that is.
Wow. Binky, are you a big Pro Tools guy?
You know what, I'm not big on Pro Tools, because Pro Tools didn't play well with others, you know what I mean? And when you're in your workflow and you're just like, okay, this song's gonna be perfect or your system always have to be like massive, because I don't know if they're much better now, but when I'm in like a workflow and then you say, okay, I need to add a delay, and this would make this vocal perfect, and you add the delay, and then you start getting glitches, and you're like, or it doesn't want to play with this, or Pro Tools is like, well, I have to be the main system. And I've been working. I started with Cubase. Yes. And then I went from Cubase to worked with the Window for a little while.
Yes.
with Reasons.
Yes.
And then Reaper.
Beautiful.
And then Teddy Riley told me he works with Studio One, and he's like, you have to try it, because you never have to really stop your workflow. For some songs you can't do this. I mean, some gear you can't do this, and it does that good, but it doesn't do this. But when I started working with Studio One, I was like, okay, because he had like a endorsement deal, so he'd give me a copy. Yes. And I started working with that, and it was just like, you could just do this, you pull things into your song. And this was before everyone else was really friendly with because you'd have a big loop collection, but it may not work good with Cubase. They have their own loops, and you have to format them or put the time in if you want them to work in Cubase. But Studio One had taken a lot of the guesswork out. You could just go. You could just drag instruments in if you had a MIDI file or anything. Be like, what about this one? What about this one? And things will stick when you're working like that. And then you could bounce out and master the song down, and then go. And if you listen to your mix and you say, man, the vocal is just a little bit loud on the third verse or 2 words or whatever, you could actually revert from the master back to the session, fix that, and then bounce the master back. So I got used to working with that. So I've been working now in Studio One primarily since the beginning. So they're at Studio 1.5 now. It just came out actually maybe last week or this month or something. So I've been working on that. And now Studio 1.5 does notation and everything. You know, you have the piano window,
yes,
the piano roll bar, and say you played some lines and you wanted to give them to a horn section or the bass player or anyone, it will accurately notate all of your. You could print charts. Say
Wow.
here's your part, here's your part, here's your part. Come on, let's do this. You know what I mean? So, and it has like a now they even have a rig in there where you can do your live show, and you can use stems from your sessions, and also like say you had a bass player and a drummer and a guitar player,
Yeah.
but your arrangement was much more than that. You can mute those parts and then plug in your bass player, your drummer, and the instruments you have into the actual session and play along with the session to the crowd. So
Wow.
that's my go-to gear right now. But I do have Pro Tools 12 and all those things, but I only use them. And then another thing with Pro Tools, you can max out your system.
Yeah.
And you say, man, I paid 10 grand for this system, and in 3 years you can't upgrade it anymore. It's like you have to throw it away and get the new Pro Tools system and start all over, pretty much. So
It's expensive. It is. Can I ask you a question, please, Binky, about okay, here's a question. Mixing in mono, because you'll notice behind me there's a mixed cube, isn't there, over here? Yeah. So you're a veteran of mixing. So could you give us a tip to get how you get your mixes sounding amazing in mono?
I think you have to mix the record in stereo, and then you go to mono to see if it stands up. So you get everything happening, because if you do a lot of left, hard right, and it sounds great in stereo, and then when you go down to mono, you just want to make sure that you can still hear the things that make you feel the track.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes when you go down to mono, like especially if you're mixing like modern music and you have a driving 808 or something that's thumping, and then when you go to mono, it's basically not even there. You know what I mean? It's just everything on the top. So you have to look and see, well, did it lose feel did it lose the feeling? You know what I mean? Can I still relate to this song without it being pumped up? Because some guys will just play their music loud, like, turn the knob all the way up, like, and it's just like, yeah, but can you turn it down? You know what I mean? And when you turn it down, if you can still hear it and feel it, and sometimes you'll capture that, and sometimes you won't, because you may hear it on a crappy mono speaker, or someone's playing it in their laptop, or some guy's system is not configured right, and the headphones that they make now, it's just like like the Dr. Dre's, it's just to make it sound good for the consumer, but it's not really actually the studio mix where you can hear everything separate. Everything is just kind of like boomed up together, just to give you the loudness of it.
That'll lead me to another question then. So do you ever have you ever had to mix on primarily headphones?
I wouldn't want to, because even like if I mix on my little, I have some KRKs. I have like all sizes, and I have the little ones, just like if you would go with your laptop.
Yeah.
And I'll start a record there, and then I'll take it into the studio, and then immediately you'll hear, oh, I have to change this. Is you hear all these changes that you immediately have to make that you didn't hear on those speakers. So even same thing with headphones. I mean, if you were in an emergency situation or you're very familiar with what's lacking in the headphones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I mix on the little KRKs and I go to the bigger ones, I'm like, wow, it sounded totally different, at the other place. But I can't pretty much guess, like, well, when I took it here and there, I don't do that enough to be like, to overcompensate things. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, it seems like the bass is good, but I know when I take it to this other system, or I put it in the car, or I take it here, that this is the true response. So I'm going to go extra, a little heavier than what I'm hearing on the bass. That's, that invisible in the dark mixing. I don't like to do it. I like to just, know everything is perfect. So with headphones, it may sound good in that set, and it might sound crappy on another set. You know what I mean? So it just depends. But I have those that you have on.
Really?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Are those AKTs?
Yeah. K271 Mark IIs.
They're pretty good. Yeah, they've been pretty good.
Yeah, what we did, we went to the studio and we shot these out, and we basically, the mixes that we did on these, they're translated well to the Maya HD ones. The speakers, and the tutor there, he was an old engineer, and he's got quite a few credits behind him in his day. Spiro. So can I ask you a question, Bobby? Do you mix an analog or digital? Have you had to make the transition from going from a desk like this to something like this thing over here?
Yeah, it's two different worlds, but it's coming to where everyone mixes inside the box. I went to Babyface has a studio in Hollywood called Brandon Way, and I went over there to play guitar on some stuff, and he has this huge Neve board, like it's huge, right? But they're only using 4 tracks, Pro Tools. Everything is, massive, room for like you would imagine. Yeah. And huge, Neve board. I don't know how many tracks. It's huge. It's probably like maybe 2 boards together or something. But we're just working on this little piece of tape with Pro Tools 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever, track vocals. And so everyone is mixing that way, you know what I mean? And if you look at it, it was kind of hard to get to because it didn't really give you the warmth and everything that you would get when you were tracking. Just the big, the sounds you hear on records, and you just listen to some of those old vinyl or whatever. You're like, wow, man, this sounded fantastic, and everything was spread out, and then, but you always, in the end, you always have to get down to the 2-track, you know what I mean? So it's come a long way, and it's a lot better now. So now pretty much everything that I do, I have bigger mixers, but I feel safer now just kind of staying inside the box, because they stopped making things that, that would give you that 2-track mix. You know what I mean? Before you could go from take it out of your board into a CD burner or to Elise's multi-verb or whatever. Yeah, those things were pretty good, and you would have a fat sound, but now it's getting better because you can run. I know you were asking me, what do I run at the end of my chain? On my master bus, I always run Isotope. What is it called?
Nectar? Or, no, not Nectar. It's I can't think of it.
I had the whole big suite, right? So I have the Isotope 9, and you can do that mixing assistant.
Yes.
And as soon as you think your mix is fantastic, and before Isotope even does anything to it, it notches up another like 10% before you even process anything. Just when it runs through it, you can hear it when you add it to the bus. You hear your sound go boom, and just really stand. You're like, okay, well, I just turned it on. I haven't even done anything to it. So I always have that at the end, so I can see and hear other what it does to it, because it always adds something. So now I don't even consider bouncing down to a CD or anything like that, because then you have to go back and end up bouncing it down to a computer anyway. So it's good to just get it all sounding right inside of that.
Wow.
Inside of that.
Binky, do you ever have? You must have been tracking to tape at one point. And did you hear a difference between tracking to tape and hard disk, or tracking to hard disk?
Yeah, because in the beginning, hard disk wasn't as good. I had all formats I've had, and I still have some too. I can pull some out of the closet. I have, if I show you right here in my living room, I have 48 tracks of Elise's hard disk. The HD24.
Yeah.
I have two of those running, but I never. I think maybe that's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
But tape would add a certain saturation to the track that only tape can add. Even tape saturators or whatever, they don't add that. Like I remember, like when you would bounce down to a cassette.
Yes.
You ever bounce down to a cassette?
Yeah, I've been doing it a lot lately. Yeah.
And you know how it would give you like an extra crispiness, and it would just do something to everything. Like it was just like if you had an old wood and you shellacked it. It's like, wow. Sometimes you would just couldn't wait to hear what it was going to sound like off the tape. You know what I mean? So that was never with the problem with digital was that in the beginning, that people were spoiled with how it sounded once it went to tape, because it added, your mix was tight, and when you finished it was even tighter. It's like, whoa, it sounds good going to that last bit of tape. And when you put it on computer, it was just like nothing happened. It was like, okay, it's done, and that's it. It's like, yeah, but it didn't add any extra sparkle to it. Is that it? It's like, yeah, that's it. Okay, no, I'm going back to tape. But now, they have so many different things, like I said, with Isotope and all these other multi band dynamic EQs, and could just, you know what I mean? You just, wow, okay, that just really brought it to life in this, in the 2K range or whatever, So now it's a lot better. So going back to tape is like, you'd have to have really a reason for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But do you? What I do a lot of odd research in my own time when I'm not doing the radio show and all the mixing stuff. Yeah. So I was interested in. Okay, so if we just quickly jump back to tape, and there's the work of an engineer called Preston Nichols in his day, and he was. His history, with Phil Spector and building studios and stuff. They did a lot of work regarding the subliminal messaging being linked to tape, and then he went on to talk about whilst they were on set, I think for Star Wars, they had two psychics, right, next to the camera, which were imprinting the actual analog tape. With messages such as, could be, go to the cinema, go watch this film. So I think that's an interesting book by Preston Nichols. I'll send you the link to that. You'll find it interesting in your downtime, because I know you're a very, very active musician. You've made the transition from being a producer, which is a very, very difficult job, to actually getting up on stage and. I think it's superb. The questions which I sent to you over originally, before I emailed, I sent them over last night. I thought, how can I ask Binky these low-level questions? I thought, but I would ask you anyway, because people. What's your favorite food and why?
My favorite food, man. I'm a foodie person. I like to go to places I haven't been to just for the food. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what do they have here in Seattle, or what do they have here in San Francisco? That's good. But I love a lot of seafood, and I mean, but I guess people, if you ask someone else, they would say chicken is my favorite food because chicken was always kind of healthy, and I liked it, so it was what I would eat every day. You know, I know people that say, "What did you eat today?" Chicken. Yeah, you know, because you always eat chicken. You know, but I like chicken and pasta and fish. You know, things like that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, back to sound. Have you ever experimented with different tunings, such as 432, 444, where A equals 444, A equals 432? Because to me personally, your music resonates very well, especially with Claire as well, which is my other half. You feel it in your body. It's not just your ears. You feel it here. And I thought, there's some sort of magic behind what Binky's doing. Right. Now, I'm not going to ask you to give any secrets, but have you ever experimented with different tunings?
You know, I have, but I don't know what the tuning was. I learned this one tuning from this guy long time ago. He used to play in the church, and he would tune, and it was like he would tune the whole guitar in like E minor or something. It was a complete chord. Like if you strummed it, it was da-da-da-da-da. It was a chord, and he was able to play like he could play like, I mean, like one of those old school guys, like you know, like when original blues guys, could play the bass and the chords, and it was a different voicing. You know what I mean? And you didn't need much with that. So I used to play that way, but I never played that way much. So on record, it's just that I don't know. I try to evoke, you know, the feeling from the very first track. That's where I try to build the soul from. It's just like, I think of my grandfather, because he would just, you know, my grandfather had maybe like 6 or 7 vintage Gretsch guitars, you know, and he would just do a certain, it's like just a certain feel that when you're patting your foot, like if you would notice my Uncle Bobby,
yes,
always patted his foot real heavy,
yes,
that comes from my grandfather. Because if you start with the feeling, you never lose the feeling. You know what I mean? Just from the, okay, here we go. And then when you go in, it's like the feeling's already there before you even play one chord, you know? So that just comes from, I mean, it's regular tuning. I don't think I have one record with the alternate tuning. It's just from in here, you know, I just try to deliver it from right there, because if you feel it, then everyone else is going to feel it. But like it's good. It makes me, it gives me hope that, you know, that you're feeling that, because a lot of people out here don't know what they're feeling or what they're listening to. They, you know what I mean? Because they're listening differently, you know what I mean? And they create differently because, you know, when you're creating music now, you have so many tools that you don't really need to know anything. You can just press sounds, you know what I mean? And you're making sounds, and you're like, oh, those sounds good together. And then you have a bunch of loops that are all in A minor, and you're like, oh, let's try this one. Okay, well, this is it. And then you don't really build from a place of feeling that gives you that, you know, that feeling that we used to feel on all the records, like, you know, when you hear like Teddy Pendergrass singing, you know, turn out the lights, or the OJs or someone singing, people all over the world, join hands. You know, you're just like right there. You don't get that. You know. So when you hear someone that says, "Man, I really, you know, I felt that," and it makes you want to go on, keep on going, because You were asking me about, was there ever a point that you felt like stopping or giving up? Yeah, you get to those points where you're like, man, what do I do at this point? I mean, do I just join the crowd and, I can make trap beats all day long, you know what I mean? Or I can make pop beats or whatever, just like, this. Do I just jump in there, or do I stay, you know, true to what I really feel and what makes me happy? And there's one side of you saying, go with the money, just make make the trap beats. It's like, but I don't want to make these songs where they're saying, nothing and it's all just, do I do that? It's like, well, maybe I can do that under a different name or something. You start thinking, but if that's what you do, that becomes what you do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I remember I was in my early 20s, and I was, I was making all rap songs and R&B, whatever. And I was just, if someone said, hey, we need a track from you. I was like, okay, what's your budget? You know what I mean? And it didn't matter. 20 grand, okay, I'm there. And that's just, money would move everything. And then I was in an interview, and someone was like, well, what songs did you do for this person or these people? And I started naming all these ratchet songs, like 6 Million Ways to Die. If she don't have my money, she's dead. You know what I mean? Things like that. And I heard this coming out of my mouth, and I was like, man, I can't. I mean, you know what I mean? I felt bad because at first I was like, yeah, Binky Womack, and then 6 Million Ways to Die. And I mean, these titles were all bad, like, we gonna trace you in chalk. Okay, well, I mean, I gotta get a different avenue now, right? So at that point, that was like a revelation that I had to like start, doing something better. You know what I mean? And then I merged out of that and started doing like, like the Usher records or TLC records and things like that. And, everything takes you. It's a journey, where you're going. So,
Binky, I have this philosophy that we have our mundane work, which could be the regular 9 to 5 for someone, but you have your work that you're put on the planet to do. Yeah, and I think you're definitely doing the work that you've been put on the planet to do, and you're very, very you're superb at it. You did touch on the question that I did send over to you regarding hurdles and challenges. So could you tell us about a particular? You've already mentioned the one regarding the lawsuits where everybody wanted to sue on the track and how you. So could you tell us another hurdle and how you overcame the hurdle?
There's been so many hurdles. I mean, I think the hardest ones, like when you lose someone, like, my Uncle Cecil died. It's just like, it's the changing of the players, and, as you would know, even like the shifting of like record company executives, you know what I mean? One day your friend, who calls you for everything is the president of BMG. And coming year, he's not even in the business anymore. He's telling you, oh yeah, doing something totally unrelated, like I own carpet cleaning businesses. Like, what? Those are some hurdles. You know what I mean? And then that comes with like that goes with the other thing that I was saying about. If you want to do the popular music, you know what I mean? There's like doing the popular music, like, okay, say you want to be on the Snoop record.
Yeah.
Man, you have to hang out with him every day. You know what I mean? It becomes like a job. It's like, where are you going to Snoop's house? You know what I mean? That becomes, you got to hang out with these guys because when they hit the studio, you have to be there with like, your tapes or here, check this beat out. And then you put it on and everyone starts to nod to it like, yeah. And that's how you have to be there at that moment. You know what I mean? If you weren't there, they're not going to call you and say, hey, can you send over a track, unless they're totally dry. There's always someone there, and those are hurdles, because when you get older and more established, you don't want to hang out. I'm not going to hang around Babyface place all day waiting for them to, to say, hey, what would you do to this? Or you have some ideas, because, that's a hurdle. So the thing about, growing and not doing all the things that you used to do, or that you maybe should do or want to do, it may become a time where you don't even want to go on tour. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
When in the beginning you couldn't wait to go with anyone. You know what I mean? Like look at Bootsy with James Brown and all those guys. Just being out there and doing stuff and meeting people. Yeah, so that was probably the biggest for me, because I had so many relatives and people. Like when my Aunt Mary Wells died, it's like that's a whole thing of men. She's, you know what I mean? That whole thing just shut down. That's just like closing down, Walmart or something. It's like you have to find now there's, that's then something new has to open up. So mainly those were the things. And you also asked about, the differences between now and before,
Yeah.
It's with streaming is something totally different from FM radio play, the way it used to be, you know?
Yeah.
And, you can have a million streams on a record, and you know that a million streams on a record might give you, like, I don't know, not a lot of money.
Yeah. Not a lot. Yeah.
Pharrell was saying that he made $3,000 on Happy, and I was like, well,
whoa.
It's just he said he made $3,000, and I know that's not counting money that you get up front, but he's saying after you release that record. I mean, now with all the services that your music can go further and reach all around the world faster. You know what I mean? Because before you had to ship a crate of records to every store, you know, and now you just press send and your record is there. Wow. But it's like, it's so easy, when you press send and someone else gets it, and it and they have the places that was, hey, sign up and you can hear all the music in the world for $9.99. How does that equate to the writer and the, so everyone always has to find how to jump over these hurdles. You know what I mean?
Big hurdle.
And then during these times with with COVID,
yes,
you can't tour or you can't play live. So although, you got your popularity up, you can't do a show, you know what I mean? And make this money. You're and now people are trying to, stream shows, but there's no energy in the room. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, here it's like, to me, it looks like when you broadcast your rehearsal.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that. Michael Jackson was really good at putting hype in anything he did. You know what I mean? If he walked from the hotel to the car, people were fainting and falling out, and jumping out of windows and screaming. So music needs that,
It does.
So that's a hurdle that we're at now, trying to see, how do we get all that back,
Wow, Binky, could you tell me a funny story, a studio or live performance story, a funny story?
Okay, there's I remember one time I was in the studio with my Uncle Bob, right? It was me. I don't know whose record this was, and I was tagging along. This is like right when they were just starting to let me play on records and stuff, because it was a lot of time I was telling you I would, they say, oh, you're not ready. Because my uncle's a great guitar player. My Uncle Cecil's a great guitar player. My Uncle Bob's a great guitar player. So for them to let you know, their nephew play, you know, you had to be like spectacular because oh no, I can do it myself or whatever. So I was at the studio. It was me, Maurice White from Earth, Wind and Fire,
Yes.
and Sly Stone. It was my Uncle Bob, Maurice White, and Sly Stone, and me. And they were working on the record. And at this point, at this time, Sly was he had just got released from jail because he had, you know, substance problems.
Yes.
And the way he got out is my uncle said he would be responsible for anything that he did.
Yes.
So they released him in his custody. So now we're at the studio and we're all in the room, and you know, Maurice, I think it was an Earth, Wind and Fire song or something, or it was like the Emotions. It was some big song because they were all working on it. And I'm just sitting there and I'm vibing, and then Sly says, "Hey, I gotta go to the bathroom," and he leaves, right? And then they say, "Oh, okay." So we're sitting there for like 30 minutes, and Sly never came back. So my uncle told me, he tapped me on the shoulder, go see what Sly's doing, right? So I'm like 16 or something like that, and I go, and there's like, you know, like a kitchen area in the studio, and Sly is doing something in the microwave, and he sees me, he goes, "Oh," and I'm like, and I'm like, what? I didn't know. So I'm standing there, and he said, "They sent you out here to check on me, huh?" I said, "Yeah, they told me to come see what you're doing." So he's in the microwave, and he takes something out of the microwave, and he's going like this, right?
God, yeah.
And he said, go tell him I'm coming. He's like, "This is between me and you, shh," right? And I'm like thinking, wow, do I tell my uncle Sly's in the microwave cooking up stuff, you know, or am I loyal to Sly? I don't want Sly to think I'm not cool. So I go back in, and my uncle's like, "What is he? Where is he? What is he doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's just warming up his food in the microwave. He on the
Warming up his food.
So yeah, that's one thing I always remember, man.
Warming up his food in the microwave.
He's warming up his food. He'll be here in a minute. And they just like turn back and it's like, yeah, okay, you know.
Wow. It's a brilliant story, actually. It's a brilliant story, Binky. Thank you. As a producer, right now, it sounds like to me on every track that you do, you're challenging yourself to beat the last thing you did, sort of thing, like sonically. Now, doesn't that take a toll? You know, on a on an individual? Does it take a toll on you? You know, to be constantly, you set your own benchmarks very high with your work, Binky. Yeah. So, doesn't the stress get to you?
No, because it's not. What you have to really focus in on when you do what you do. I remember, you know, because there's so many different things you can do, and there's so many different ways you can go. You know, on a track can go this way or that way. You know, you can use the blues guitar, or it could be, you know, really chanky and thin, and so you have to just do what you feel. I never try to like outdo myself or think I'm gonna go higher, or I'm gonna go better, or I'm gonna go faster, or I'm gonna put more changes in this one. I never think like that. I just like go with the feeling. I've been lucky enough to be around a lot of people, like a lot of big heavyweights that like are legends. Like,
oh, I know.
Like Berry Gordy is amazing on his approach to, and just when I'm around those guys, I just listen. And Russell Simmons, they always said things that are like similar. Like Berry Gordy once told me, a song is either a hit from the beginning, the inception, or it's not. He said, you can't take a record that's not a hit and make it a hit, but you can embellish on a hit so it becomes a bigger hit, or the record lasts longer in time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Something like that. So, because I remember we were working on a record, and he came to the studio. I was working with Kerry, and he just amazed me. You know what I mean? Because he had someone with him to write down everything. He like just someone like that just hung out with him to take notes of everything that was happening, so he could reflect back, like, what was that? They said when I was over there with Kerry, and the guy would say, like, what part? And he can go back and have everything. No, he had notes. So that really impressed me, and that his knowledge was just so vast, because you usually think guys like that they have no real musical knowledge. You know what I mean? Yeah. These guys have, like, an amazing insight, and that's what made them great. You know what I mean? That's why we're still listening to records, today. And I used to, Norman Whitfield, before he died. You know who Norman Whitfield is?
Yes.
Okay. Norman Whitfield, he would strip a record down. He would put all the elements on it that he thought it needed, and then he would strip the record down to nothing. And he would listen to every little part of the record and pull parts out. You know what I mean? And put parts in. If he made a record that was this big, he may use, say he had 40 tracks. He may use 12 in the final music, because he would set the mold. You know what I mean? Like, and if you go back and you listen to his productions after I'm telling you this, like what's the song? Each day through my window, I watch her as she passes by. Now, all those instruments that you hear throughout the whole song are all there in the track. Like, the whole band was playing the whole thing big. But if you hear how he eases elements in, like, maybe it's just like the woodwinds, you know what I mean? And then it's just a click for so long. And even like, like Papa Was a Rolling Stone, how it starts with just the bass and the hi-hat. That wasn't the way the track go, you know what I mean? Everything was like, the whole track is. But the way he would, like, just I'm started with just the bass line and the hi-hat. And then you hear the way it builds till it gets to, the end of the song. When you go back and you listen to all these songs, and now I'm telling you this, you're going to hear like that. And what he would do, he would say, like, say he called you in to play piano. Yeah. He would strip everything out of you. You know what I mean? He would say, because I went to the studio with him. This is another funny story. I'm going to tell you. So we hang out all week, and he says, he's recording 4 tops. And this was before he passed. He was doing like an album it was going to be like a compilation of all the greats that he recorded through his life, So he says, okay, Bink, you're in, right? Put some guitar on this. So I'm like, okay. So I hear the record for the first time, and I start playing, a couple of things. He said, okay, all right, we're going to go through, we're going to take one. So record comes on, I start playing, and I'm like thinking, they never punch in, they never say stop, and they take it to the, anything. So I make it through the whole record, and I'm thinking, wow, that was pretty cool, I guess I did a one take, right? He comes through the headphones, he goes, Binky, that was the worst crap I ever heard in my life. What is wrong with you? Are you sick? And I'm like, oh, no, it's like, look, man, just do it again. Just don't play anything but what you just played. I don't want to hear any of those notes no more. Okay, right? So then we did this consecutively for like maybe 10 takes. And he goes, you know what, man, come on, just come in here. I went in there with him. He ordered all this food. I mean, there's everything from strawberries and melons and fish and rice and chicken. This is a whole, like, we're at like a, so we eat, we laugh, we talk, he tells stories for like 2 hours, right? Yes. And then he says, okay, man, let's just get back in there and try it one more time. Yes. I go back in the booth. He puts the record on. I play the same exact thing I played when I first got there. He said, that's brilliant. Now, how come you didn't do that when you first got here? Come on out of there. And I was like, man, this guy is crazy. So then after working with him for so long, I realized what he was doing. He wanted to see everything that you possibly might want to play, or, Yeah. and he wasn't just going to settle for. It was perfect when I first got there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I played it, and he loved it, but he wanted to see what else I had, and he kept making me dig deeper and making me dig deeper and making me dig deeper, and that's how you get a lot of those great hits. And it wasn't him trying to outdo himself.
Yeah. Well,
It
God.
was just.
I mean,
Yeah, it's just the way he worked, and you stay true to the way you work, and you'll always have, your sound and your because you can't, if you jump from trend to trend,
yeah.
your records just blend in like, oh, that was the New Jack era, oh, that's the '90s, you know what I mean, or oh, that sounds like the '80s. I hate when people say that, that's an '80, it sounds '80 or sounds '90 or sounds, this. If it's a good song, like Barry said,
Yeah.
it's always a good song. You know what I mean? People want to remake it and different versions, and you just have to deliver that, what you do, that feel.
It's true, Binky. It's like, I heard it through the grapevine. Is a phenomenal track. Like there's many of them. You know what I mean? There's just excellent music. It's, ain't too proud to beg. So it's just you've been around a lot of greats. How was it? I could ask you individual stories of how was it working with so and so. You know what I mean? But it's gonna make the show like 12 hours because you worked with them.
Yeah, people always say that. It's like, man, I have to have you back because we just start cutting the surface. But yeah, I mean, when you've been around a lot of times, it's like everyone's different,
Yeah.
And usually, I think there's a plateau that you get to when you just, you're easier to work with, because I work with unsigned artists that have just been horrible. You know what I mean? It's like, you have never had a record out. And Chaka Khan was 100 times nicer than you are. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it just depends, and then a lot of times when I was doing the remixes and stuff like that, you would just get the tapes. You never would get, they took care of the part with the artist, and they would get you the stems or, the vocal parts and be like, just, do something different to it. We hate what we have.
Yes.
It was like, okay,
But I've had a message come through asking about you working with Pac. So I'm not sure what the person said. So, but it's just to tell us a little bit about working with TUPAC.
You know what? All that was Tupac was a great
Rest in peace,
talent. You know what I mean? And he had a lot of feeling, a lot of heart, and a lot of emotional stuff going on. He grew up. He was compassionate about a lot of things, and he was easy to work with. You know what I mean? And then I also, there was a time before Death Row and at Death Row. At Death Row, there was a lot of, stories going on. No one really wanted to, work over there. Well, I mean, you did, but you didn't want to be like, that guy that was deep in the core of there, because they were they only really wanted you to work there exclusively. I was one of those guys that I had a lot of friends everywhere, and then you had to know like a lot of street rules.
Oh yeah.
I was like street dumb, you know what I mean? But Suge would come by my studio, and I knew a lot of those people, and they always treated me really, really nice and really good. So, but my relationships were different with all of them. You know what I mean? I didn't have a relationship with Tupac because of Death Row, and I didn't have a relationship with Death Row because of Tupac, because it was before then. Even after Pac passed, I still work with the Outlaws a little bit. So.
Wow.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. But it's a great answer. So, tell me more about the Last Valentino. Because it's a tribute to your father, obviously. The name.
Yeah. Well, my my uncles, my father, they were the Valentinos, the Womack brothers, and um, with the death of all of them, you know what I mean? It's just to let people know if you like Womack music, if you like Womack and Womack, if you ever liked one song from Womack and Womack, or you like one song from Bobby Womack, or you like, things that you can feel, you know, it's saying, hey, I'm the last guy out here. I'm like the last Mohican making this music. Get involved with it because a lot of people say there's no good music out there.
There is.
There's good music out here,
Yeah.
but you have to embrace it because it's not being lifted to the forefront because it's not gimmickly. Um, you know what I mean? It's not. I didn't just get out of prison, and you got to tell you the story about all the people you know and flash and diamonds and and fighting and it's nothing that's gonna you know what I mean, make the front page. It's like, look, this is like my favorite song on the album
Yes.
is I love the feel of You're My One and Only. I think I just captured it because it's just like a smooth melodic, you know, and and if you like music, I mean, it could have been a country song. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that to the heart, you know what I mean? That it's simple. It's no, I hate when I listen to songs and it seems like they just rhyme, like rhyme time. I dropped my dime. Uh, she was so fine. Couldn't get her off my mind. I was like, okay, it didn't really, like you said about, devil in my arms. It took a while to put that eloquently so you can get it. You know what I mean? Without saying, she was a bee and I couldn't take it, or just to put it and weave the fabric together, in
Wow.
such a manner that you can see it. You know what I mean?
Uh,
You
bit,
can,
bit,
you can feel it. You can hear it.
Binky, yesterday I asked you about three of your favorite tracks, right? And I said
Mhm.
I'll play them on the show later on, which I will do. So I'm just trying to pull the list quickly that you gave me of the three tracks. But you know what they are anyway. So could you go through them? And why do you like them?
You know what? Remind me because I remember I was doing a show once and the guy asked me what my three favorite songs were,
Yeah.
and because my musical taste is like so vast, he didn't mean like Binky Womack, what are your favorite three songs? He meant like, what are your favorite three soul songs that I might have in my collection?
Ah. Oh.
Because I think I named some songs that were just like, like Rolling Stones. I can't think of what it was. A Beast of Burden. You know what I mean? I love that groove, and those things went over his head. He wasn't on that level. So I think the songs that I told you were
Staple Singers, Come Go With Me.
Staple Singers, Come Go With Me.
Yeah.
Okay, that song, that groove is pretty similar to their other song, I'll Take You There. So it's like they have a song, I'll Take You There, and they have a song, Come Go With Me. So, and they're both fierce songs. I think they were both written by Curtis Mayfield, maybe. But I like those messages. You know what I mean? It's like if you think back to that time, and people were in a struggle, they were still fighting for the same things like that we're pushing for today, like just to be like just to coexist without danger of of being hurt or accosted or anything. You know what I mean? So I love the groove on that song. It has that thing that I tell you. All those records had pop staples. I could see him laying down the, okay, here we go, with the foot and then the lyrics behind it, like, I know a place, come go with me, where ain't nobody, crying, no one's worried. You know what I mean? It's like that type of feel good song makes you and it still stands up today. Actually, I'm working on a cover of that song right now for not myself, but for Lisa Love. I think she's
Yes.
gonna murder that song.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's so relevant. You know what I mean? It's like hatred. It has a line that says hatred. Where I'm going to take you to,
Yeah.
hatred will not be tolerated. Like the people as one won't tolerate you, you know, coming into our group, our circle, our world, or whatever, and exuding hatred towards anyone. You know what I mean? Hatred will
Yes.
not be tolerated. I love that line.
Very true. Now you had Neo because of you.
Now that song, if you listen to that song, that's probably where the last bit of feeling and musicianship and everything like that stopped. You know what I mean? That was after that. You know, people start creating from a sonic level, not a feeling or a soul or a vibe. They don't even say soul. You know what I mean? It's like they took soul out. Why would you take? Everyone has a soul. You know what I mean? And we as close as you can get to soul now, they change it to neo soul. What is neo soul? Does that mean you're kind of like hippie-ish, slow beats, and you know what I mean? It's kind of, it has its soul encompassed before everything. You know what I mean? So that if you listen to that neo song,
Yes.
you can hear elements of like, man, real bass player, real changes that do something. You know what I mean? But listen to that. You'll hear what I'm saying. But I think that was the end of that. You don't even hear real bass lines like that in music anymore. You know what I mean? It's all synths
Binky, I'll definitely I'll be
or
playing this track
subs.
on the show. Now, obviously, this track is great as well. Bobby Womack, The Way I Feel About You.
Now that is just, you can feel that song. If it had no words on it, you
Yeah.
could just add to that track. Dun, 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 dun. And it's like steel guitars or something. So it's just a feel in it. I love that song.
A beautiful song. Binky, do you ever get writer's block, and how do you deal with it?
No, I never. I used to get writer's block, but I don't necessarily get it anymore because um, I think what I used to get it because I used to do what you were saying, like trying to outdo myself or outdo someone else or outdo something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're not getting it, so that you consider it a block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you just create without the pressures of, I got to have this record in by tomorrow, and I got to meet this deadline. If you don't have those pressures of anything, you will always be able to create something. And at the end, you have to just, like, you may create a record tonight or start on the track. So you go home and start working on the track,
Yeah.
and you're not feeling it. You're not feeling it at that moment, and you just stop. And then 2 weeks later, you bring that track up, and you hear it fresh for the first time. You will immediately, right away, know what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you can make those fixes, and then you can come back to it later, and you may have like, okay, be able to just drop lyrics on it or melody or something right away. But I feel like I never write anything that's just totally bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're incapable. It's like Gordon Ramsay making a bad egg sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah.
He may not be up to his standards, like but you won't notice the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he will be more critical of himself, and when you stop being critical of yourself, and you just maybe like, I'm not feeling where I'm going with this right now, but let me come back to it. It may not be a hit, but it may be a great record, because not all great records are hits, and not all hits are great records.
Very true.
Once you settle into that, you'll just be like, well, yeah, and that's why. And if you listen back to things that you never placed, and you're like, wow, man, this is a great song. You know what I mean? And there's always a time and a place, because I still be placing records that I might have wrote on like Pro Tools 3 or something. You hear it and be like, man, this is fantastic. I just did a record. Are you familiar with Sounds of Superbad?
I've heard Superbad, the name Superbad. I'll research.
So we were talking about a collaboration, right? So I didn't know they were producers. I thought they were singers, or because they have records and have words on them, and so I thought naturally, I just thought that was them singing. They're like, no, they do like a Timberland type thing. They're producers and DJs, and they get like a vocalist to feature. So I sent them a song, and it was a great record, and it was out of my old catalog. You know what I mean? Because I was just going through some of my old hard drives. Like, wow, this record is fantastic. I sent it to them. They loved it, and then I said, okay, well, you guys, put the vocals on it, and then send them back. And they go, well, we don't sing. We're producers. And he said, the track almost sounds like it's finished. Yeah, it is finished. Okay, scratch that. Throw that track out. And then I sent him another track that I had, and I mean, I think I recorded this song I wrote it maybe 8 or 9 years ago, long time, but it's a song called "Grab Somebody's Hand," and it's like. It goes, I was thinking to myself the other day how to make this world a better place, how to bring together every race, gotta keep trying, gotta keep trying. So it's a song like that, right?
Very appropriate right now, yes.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking, but it was just in my, it's just in my treasure trunk. It's like, when the kid goes through, I know my shovel's in here somewhere, so I'm like looking through and I find all these songs, and I was like, okay, what about this song? And I send the song to him. And we make this great collaboration on it. And actually, it's out Friday. So you'll probably hear. I'll send it to you.
Please, Binky. Yes. Yeah.
And so all that to say, that there's always something in there. You know what I mean? That song sat there for, like I said, 8, 9 years.
Yes.
But it's still a good song. You know what I mean? And so that if you revisit your stuff,
yes,
and you don't put the pressure on yourself, you won't ever get a writer's block.
Wow, what an excellent answer there as well. Do you know being in the studio? It's just for me personally, I live in the studio. Right, I never go out, so the whole COVID lockdown thing hasn't really affected me. That much. Like my life hasn't changed really that much. I'm just stuck at the sequence, so I'm stuck in doing radio work anyway. So, has COVID had a massive impact on your daily routine?
No, I'm like you, not at all. I feel for a lot of people that have been impacted, that can't go to work, or that you have an apartment and you can't get out, you know what I mean? You have to get like cabin fever, but for me, no, it hasn't changed. It, for me, it's actually, life is actually better. I hate to say that, but I gotta confess, life is actually better, because if I go out now, in LA, there's no traffic. I can get to where I want. There's no one on the road. I mean, I've already, we kind of live that lifestyle anyway. Like you were saying. Yeah. I mean, I have a studio at my house. I have Miko. I have a Nico. I have what is it? Music computing system. I've got on my laptop, I have Studio One, and I could drive straight to my studio now, and nothing's changed, And my house is big enough to move around. I mean, I've got video games, arcade in here.
Wow!
Pool outside. I have stuff upstairs, and so everything is fine. And we always I have food full of deep freezer full of food, and pantries and everything. So it's like nothing has really, only thing that's changed for music, I can't play a show
Yeah.
like that, or we have to shoot a video that only has 2 people in it. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
So those are only things that have really affected me,
Yeah.
and that obviously what affects everyone else affects you. You know what I mean? Because you don't get to see your in-laws or whatever, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
I was going to say that. Yes.
It's like you think about, like, man, I haven't seen my mother-in-law in like 4 months.
Do you know, regarding the Womack dynasty, now are the next generation coming into music is the question.
You know what? It's hard to say, because it's just like, if you have a certain ability, naturally your children, you'll see things in them. Like I can sing a line and my son will sing it back, and he's 3. But the music business is not like it used to be. Now you're kind of like, hey, don't sing back. I don't want you to be a singer. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And a lot of there's still a lot of them. A lot of my cousins and everything that are like the Womack sisters. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah.
They are extremely, extremely talented. I mean, I would put them up against anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So far as anything, because our family, they were groomed at the same time I was groomed, and everything was like musical college, like music. It was like an institution. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you were just brought up that way. Watching your father and say, okay, Kurt, sing your part, and then they would, sing something, and they say, oh, okay, change that 3rd note. Oh yeah. And you just took all that in, you know what I mean? And that gave you the ability. You already had some natural ability, but then, I mean, if you hear those girls sing anything, I mean, they can just...
They're brilliant, yeah.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
They're
they
brilliant,
can just,
yeah.
if they know the words or something, give them, and as writers, but they have that thing too, where they're a little too critical on themselves. You know what I mean? I made a record with them. It was fantastic. But before the version that I made with them, they had made the same song 3 or 4 times. But they were all fantastic. And you're listening like, well, what's wrong with it? And they're like, well, I'm not really, there's something in there that's just not right. Okay. And they play another version. Well, what's wrong with that one? I didn't really, and then we got to mine. I'm thinking, man, this is fantastic too. And then they didn't really like that one either. But they were able to just place the record with Tyler Perry. They placed it in one of his movies.
Yes.
And it was just like, they kind of just threw it away, kind of like, because there wasn't, I don't know what they were missing in there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're just like, oh, you can have that record. And he was happy to have it. You know what I mean? But they were just still reaching for something. You know what I mean? And wow. I think that becomes a block. You know what I mean? When you get to a point where, I'm sure you've worked with a lot of women were like that. And that's what I was saying, like about a Chaka Khan or somebody. They come in, lay a record down, and it's great. Now, I'm sure you work with someone, a female singer. She come in, she do a great take, and you go, this is fantastic. She calls you in the morning and say, that was a piece of crap, what I did yesterday. Yeah, I need to come back and do it over. Yeah. And you're like, well, you sure? Because, I mean, it sounded great to me. No, I can do much better. Come back, do it the same exact way. And you're like, it sounds exactly the same to me now. And she goes, no, I'm missing, starts crying or something, and just throw it away. We'll just do another song. I mean, have you ever experienced that?
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And they can never please themselves. So that's the first thing you want to conquer. You know what I mean? Is trying to always, think you can jump higher, you can run faster. You know what I mean? What do you mean? You just jumped 8 feet, over over dead meat. No, I can do 10. I know I can. You know what I mean? It's just I can do it much better. And every day you go out, we jump 8 feet. You know. So
Binky, do you know regarding you're a producer, so so has your vision ever clashed with that of the label?
yes, I mean always, always. I remember. Let me take you way far back
Yeah.
when there was. You remember the time there was rap, and there was
Yeah.
and there was R&B.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay, there was this label called Scotty Boy in New York,
Yeah.
and I was doing something for them. I forgot what it was, but I mixed rap and R&B, and they were appalled. They were like, "People don't like their R&B and rap. They have to be separate. People that like rap does not like R&B, and people that do like R&B does not like rap."
Wow.
I was the first person to introduce to them singing hooks on rap. And they were appalled that it was like, and I was like, "You're wrong about this." And they were like, "No, you're wrong." They went out of business.
Wow. They should have listened to you.
Yeah. And then that became, if you know, from the 80s to the 90s, that's all there was. You know what I mean? There was a rap with singing hooks, and then it had singing on the rap, and then there was Ja Rule, and then there was Puffy, and like there were samples with like Diana Ross saying "I'm coming" on like Mace, and that was they could have been in the forefront of all that. That was one time, and then there was another time before Latin rap, before Latin Grammys, before Latin people were popular.
Yes.
There were all these Latin rappers that were bubbling. And me and, are you familiar with Kid Frost?
Yes. Yes.
Frost. Okay, so me and Kid Frost got all the hot Latino rappers, was Baby Bash and everybody, under one banner, and took that to Interscope. And you'll find this funny. The guy who was the head of Latin A&R at Interscope, remember Rico Suave?
That rings a bell, the name does, yes, yes, yes.
He was a guy, he had like long hair, really good, but that was him when he was younger. He was the guy and he was a Latin guy. He didn't see the vision or he couldn't see enough to say, this is a good idea. We had all those guys and brought them all to one place. It was Chingo Bling, it was Baby Bash, it was everyone who was bubbling.
Yeah.
And they couldn't see that. So, but to make a long story short, all those guys blew up to be platinum and multi-platinum, and like Pitbull, everybody would have been under one banner, And they didn't see it because at that time it wasn't the thing to do. You know what I mean? There were no J-Los, there were no Christina G's or anybody like that. So that was another time that, we bumped heads. But that's gonna happen because there's no, like we said, there's no simple math to it. It's what you think versus what someone else, thinks. Because either one of it could be right, It's not like 2 + 2 + 2, and then you have everyone's in the room is gonna have the same answer, hopefully.
Yes.
But with that, you can play a song like when the Rolling Stones first got signed, the label wanted to kick Mick Jagger out the group.
Yes.
They thought he was an awful lead singer, like he was terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I remember when Beyonce and Destiny's Child couldn't get a record deal. The only reason they got a record deal is because they went to one of those labels that put them with every super producer and gave them a deal. But they got turned down everywhere.
Wow.
So.
Wow. But they kept on going, isn't it? That's what it is. You never get disheartened.
Yeah, you never get disheartened. You just, if they don't see it, you can't force something on someone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Same thing with artists. I get more disheartened with an artist that is trying to get into the business and you say, okay, I'm going to help you. This just recently happened. A friend of mine called back from TUPAC days and was like, "My daughter is a rapper, and I've been looking all over for you." I was like, "How come you can't find me? I mean, I'm like right everywhere." It's like, "Well, I didn't know how to get in touch with you. I've been trying for a year." Like, "Oh, okay." So he says, "My daughter, she raps, and can you help her?" I said, "Yeah, okay, fine." He sent me the stuff. I said, "Okay, what I'm gonna do is I know a lot of other producers too. I'm gonna get two super producers. We're gonna take her original version, and then I'm gonna do a mix, and I'm gonna get two of my friends to do a mix, and we're gonna release it as a single. And then we're not even gonna sign her to a deal. So after her record blows up, she can maneuver on her own. She can go from there."
Wow.
He said, "Fantastic, man. I really appreciate you." So I start on her record, get her artwork done. No, she has no internet presence because she's never made a record. There's nothing of her out here. I get it all set up, and I send him the final mixes. He calls me back and goes, "My daughter doesn't like it." She hates it. He goes, "She hates it. She wants you to take it off the internet." I said, "It's not on the internet. It's not even released yet. I was about to submit it to Sony, tomorrow." He goes, "No, she wants it taken down. She doesn't like it." He said, "I want you to talk to her." I said, "I'm not going to talk to her. You tell her, if she doesn't want it, fine." So he said, yeah, I gave him a couple days. He called me back. He goes, "Yeah, she doesn't like it." I said, "Okay, cool." That very same day,
Yeah.
I took her vocals off. I played the track for someone else. They loved it. The record's coming out pretty soon. You know what I mean? They did a whole different version. But it's just someone's perception. And when someone has never even been into the industry, they don't know. And they want to tell you they're right because they listen to music all the time and they know what's hot and what's, yeah, what is in the top whatever because that's all you hear, you know what I mean? But you don't battle Beyonce on your first single, you know what I mean?
No, you don't.
You don't expect to battle Cardi B on your first release or anything. You work up to that, you know what I mean? Just like a boxer does and say, "Hey, I think I want to be a boxer. Where's Mike Tyson?" You don't go that route, you know what I mean? And
Talking about charts, Binky, I think you're number 6 in the UK, aren't you, for the soul charts? Your new release.
I was following it when it first came out, but I haven't been following because it goes up, it goes down, and you know what I mean? It drops off, it comes back, and I'm just trying to not focus on that because then you get caught up into being like, "Man, my record is way better than these 6 records above me, or these 5 records, or I'm the only soul guy on the soul charts." So I don't even follow it anymore. Unless someone will tag me and say "You're number 3 here, you're number 2." Oh, great, thank you. But I stopped looking.
Do you use a particular technique or method to keep yourself grounded and humble?
Well, you know what? It's because the way and where I grew up, it's just the way I am. You know what I mean? And it's I think everyone adapts their own personality, and I'm always been kind of laid back, and it's when you when I was a kid, Muhammad Ali, yes, Richard Pryor, these guys would just drop by my uncle's house, just like normal. That was just normal, you know what I mean? And to go and see the OJs or anyone like that, that was just normal. So when I started doing my own stuff and Tupac or Snoop or TLC or anybody, it was just normal. so people are people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you see people, okay, perfect. Let me tell you the story.
Yeah.
One time, my uncle was playing the Greek Theater. It's like a venue in Los Angeles, and
Yes.
on the bill was it was him, and it was the um, Isley Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the Isley Brothers came in backstage, and I was like, wow, is that the Isley Brothers? Because I see them on stage. One has on a yellow outfit, sparkling. One has on orange. Their hair is perfect. Everybody, Ronald Isley has a certain, tie and everything. These guys came in. I mean, like they had a white beater shirt on with gravy stain on it, and just like they looked like they had just gotten off work at a construction site, and this is the way they rolled in.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. And then they went into the dressing room and came out like poof, you know what I
Wow.
mean? And it was like what you see on TV. So it's just like being behind and seeing people and the images and persona, and then seeing like even like with my aunt, at home she a certain way, but then when she would go out, she was the first lady of Motown, and it was that sparkle and that glamour, and you look at people looking at her in awe, and you were like, man, she was just at home cursing at us and and everything like 30 minutes ago, you know what I mean? Now she's talking elegant, and her hair is perfect, and everything, so I think that's what keeps me, the way I am, because people are people, and you know everyone, like you said, puts their pants on, shoes on, one step at a time. And I think the only time I was ever in awe of anyone, and just like the same thing, when you see them in person, they're not that big thing you see. Like I remember I saw once I was in the park playing basketball, and this is in like the foot of Beverly Hills, West Hollywood,
Yeah.
and I'm a big rock guy, and Ozzy Osbourne was walking through the park. He was
No
going
way.
to he was going to an AA meeting, and I'm like, shit, it's Ozzy, right? So I run over there, and he was so little and so thin and so frail, and I'm like, this is the guy that bites the head off of bats and like, roars like a lion on on stage in front of millions of people, and he was just like the most smallest, frail, thin guy that you would ever see. You know what I mean? And same thing with Prince. And I remember one time I was standing next to what's that guy? He's one an actor. He in those action movies, and he was like 5 feet tall, and I was like, man, I thought this guy was like 6'10", So you know, they, the media and everyone can blow you up and make you that you're this person, and same thing with people. Sometimes they act nice, and you meet them in person, and they're just like, man, this guy's like really mean or evil. You know what I mean? So I think I've been around a lot, and it's just I've seen a lot, and I met a lot of great people, and the most successful, great people are
Yeah.
really nice and humble, you know.
Like yourself,
Yes.
Binky, like yourself. I think 20 years ago, I think I met Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife, I was studying at college in the Midlands, and such a lovely, humble, a really really lovely woman. I didn't get to meet Ozzy, but then again, okay, studio gear. What's your next studio gear acquisition, and are you a gear slut?
You know what? Not as much as I used to be, because back in the day you had to have all the hardware. You had to have all the hardware since. Now I just next thing I'm buying, I'm at Studio 1.4, and the Studio 1.5 just came out, so I'm going to upgrade that to that. And so far as gear, I mean, I think I want to get the Akai MPC XR. I think I want to get that.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's like nothing on my list. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff out there, but so far as hardware, I've got certain things. I think you have to have like a good piece of rolling gear because they make good roads and a certain warmth,
Yeah.
and they have something in their patches. And so if you have any outboard gear, uh, synth wise, I think you maybe if you have one thing from each family,
Yeah.
you're safe. Like if you have a Proteus 2000 and you have a Roland, say 2080, JV 2080 or 1080.
Hmm.
You've got all the warm mids and everything covered, and you mix that with with the VSTs, you're pretty good. You know,
Favorite VST? Do you have a favorite VST?
you know
Synth?
there is one that I just stumbled on. It's massive. I can't even think of the name of it because I just started using it. Uh, I can't think of it.
I
But I
see.
do have a famous VST. It's that one, and I like Electra FX.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Know
Yeah.
that?
Uh,
And I like that. I like Gladiator. I mean, there's some really good ones.
hmm.
But this new one, I mean, it has like 5,000. You probably know what I'm talking about, but I can't think of it because I just started. I just got it.
Binky, what sample rate do you work at? I mean, and does that cause a problem when you're collaborating with other people? So I work at 2496 since 2004. Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you work at?
I work at 44.1.
And you're sounding bloody 10 million times better than me. So
Well, I stay right there because the thing is, when you get ready to upload, you still have to dither down back down to 44.1.
yeah,
So it's like, why? Well, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? If you're gonna record, up high 48 or 96,
hmm.
and then you have to dither down back halfway down,
Hmm.
you're gonna be listening at one quality, and then you
And
know, I can't even bring myself to do it. You know what I mean? Because I think that would put me back at that place where when you first stop using tape.
yeah,
You know. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's that much of a dramatic dither down because I've never done it. I always stay right there at
Hmm.
44.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, I guess I need to. I was originally going to buy the Roland System 8. I've just picked up a couple of months ago. Picked up the Korg Prologue 16. So,
Uh-huh.
and because you may hate me for this, but I'm a hardcore Korg fan. Like I love I got a Korg M3 over here as well with the radius board and that. It's a lovely thing, and I love working on the outboard. I I uh, I. I love using the internal sequencer as clunky as it is, rather than even So do you dream music? And if you do, like because you've got a studio at home, you can lay it down straight away. So do you actually dream music?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes you do. Sometimes I've had dreams actually where I was listening to the radio and some song I never heard before was on. And you're loving the song, and before um, you realize that you're dreaming and you should wake up and capture this moment, you don't really want to wake up because you don't want the song to stop. And then when you wake up and try to get to, you know what I mean? Then you forgot most of it. Like, man, it was something like this but while you're dreaming, it's like it's flowing so freely. But I've never been able to just wake up and transcribe it um, exactly like I heard it. You know what I mean? There may be segments and then you embellish from what you do remember, but yeah, there's been those moments.
Wow. Um, do you feel complete within yourself as for the work that you've done on this earth so far?
No, let me tell you this story. This is gonna this is gonna sum it up for you, right? Okay, so they called me to play guitar at Babyface Studio. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have my guitar with me. They're like, man, don't worry about that. We have guitars. Just come on over. Just bring yourself. Okay, so I walk in, and in the first room you walk in, it's like a reception desk, and it looks like the reception desk at Guitar Center. There's every kind of guitar hanging on the wall. There are every kind of basses, and just over the whole room, when you walk in, it's covered with guitars, like from floor to ceiling, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, and they're just like, okay, just pick one and follow me down this hallway, right? So I'm like looking like everything's Strats, Tellys, and I'm trying the action just like I would at Guitar Center or something. Okay, this one feels good. Let's go with this one. So they say, okay, come on, studio's down here. So we walk down this hallway, right? And the hallway is probably like a 10, probably like a 14-foot ceiling.
Yes.
And it's just a straight path down, like maybe like 120 feet. Okay. And there's gold and platinum records on each sides, both sides of the wall, from the ceiling to the floor.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You couldn't even see the wall. They were perfectly matched to fit in this section, right? There may have been some space at the bottom, but so you're walking down this 120-foot hallway with gold and platinum records on both sides of you. And you're carrying a guitar that you just picked off like Guitar Center, and I'm walking down this hall, and every time I took a step, I look this way and I look this way, and it's like TLC, it's like Usher, it's like every artist in the world, it's like Madonna, it's like pictures of Babyface with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. He's sitting in the middle of a circle, and they're all kissing and hugging him, and I'm just, as I walk down the hall, I'm getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. My confidence and feeling like I'm such an underachiever, and I'm walking down this hallway. By the time I got to the end, I feel like I haven't done anything. And it's like when say you're a singer and you see the level of Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? And you feel like, I don't care how popular you are, you have to feel like you didn't reach the plateau. You know what I mean? So just walking down this hall, and everybody was on here. I mean, people you didn't even know. You start seeing records like, he produced Kenny Loggins, or you would just see all these platinum records with Babyface all the way down. It's the deal. It's the Dramatics. It's the Whispers. It's it's all of these people. It's Outkast, and it's just that I felt like, man, I just need to go home and practice, or I just at that point, that's one of those times you feel like, man, I just need to just give up.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, you have to experience this. This story can't even do it any justice. But just walking down this, and it was like, I felt like, man, did he do this intentionally to just like make whoever come over here like feel like he's definitely the man, and you're not even close,
So I like the way you answered that question. So basically, you're saying that you still haven't done the work that you want to do.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've even cracked the surface. But the thing is, like I said, and then that's why you can't really compete against yourself or anyone else, because say I worked and I got all these things, and I was in the right place, and I produced 100 more records, and I was like, I finally filled up my hallway. I can't wait to have Babyface come over here and and walk down here, and he may never come, and that may be my goal from that point, is he has to walk down my hallway.
Now this one is it's not as a fun question. Well, You've worked with a lot of major labels, right? Now, how would you have? Did you have a music industry lawyer fight on your side, basically, when dealing with the big labels?
Yeah, but there's always a lawyer. I mean, there's always your go-to guy, and um, it's not, and it depends on what it is. You know what I mean? Because contracts can be real simple or they can be real hard. You know, and if you don't understand it, yeah, you need someone to, work it out for you, and they'll catch all those little details. But then it depends on the circumstances. You know what I mean? Because like, say you were going to do a deal with, a label, and they say, okay, we want you to, Dave, we want 5 albums from you.
Yeah.
And the first album is going to be 100,000. And then if you sell this many units and we make this much back, your second album will be double that. And each time you meet that requirement, it'll double and it'll double to the 5 years. You may say, okay, well, this is pretty, plain and simple, and they can draw that up for you. But if they give you the contract and it's 120 pages, then you're gonna like, oh, okay, I got to take this to
A lawyer.
the lawyer. You know what I mean? And depending on the lawyer may say, okay, well, Dave, you're doing this big deal. This is a lot of work for me, Dave. You see this 120 pages. I'm going to need 15% of this deal. Or
Wow.
I'm going to need 20,000 up front to just go through this. And it depends how you're set. You know what? You might say, well, start scratching your neck and say, well, you know what? I think I'm just going to call them back and tell them to simplify this, and make it less pages so I can sign it and read and understand it myself. And you can do that. Or you could say, no, I'm going to pay this guy 20% of my deal to go through it. So that's usually what it comes down to, something like that.
You mentioned earlier regarding, and it's a very, very valid point as well. The streaming has pulled out a lot of the money in the music industry. Now, as a result, have you noticed that advances maybe they've been taken away or they've minimized down to next to nothing?
Yeah, deals that people get now are, people are able to make money from the artist standpoint, because you're creating a product and they're going to just sell and market that product. Like right now, they have to be hurting because there's no shows, you know what I mean? And the deals that they're given, see, for a producer, it's different because you know what I mean? You usually get what you're going to get up front and you strive for that. Now, before, you would get some residual money through royalties, but streaming has, say, affected that extremely. So now you hear producers just really concentrating on what they can get up front. So if you're, one of the main guys, like say DJ Khaled or something, you may ask for $1 million.
Wow. Yeah.
Up front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're going to leave there and you don't know if you're going to get any money or what the royalties are going to do or anything, So it's that type of thing now where if you can get, but what's also affected that is you have, you see these guys on the internet and they're selling beats and they have a special 20 beats for $100.
Yeah.
It's just like, these aren't garbage beats, you know what I mean? These can be worked with.
Yeah.
On the worst case scenario, how bad does a beat have to be if you're selling it for basically $5 a beat? You know what I mean? But these are kids with a laptop, you know what I mean? And they have all day to learn to create on Fruity Loops and something. So a lot of artists, or that affects producers in the mid-range, you know what I mean? Because obviously DJ Khaled is going to get his money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, say you as a producer, and you want $5,000 for your beat, you know what I mean? And you want your royalties. But there's a guy down the street online selling 20 beats for $100.
Wow.
And then that's what happened. You rappers and these guys with legitimate deals or just buying these beats from these guys. And if you buy 20 beats and they're good, then you're just going to take this guy and say, look, man, you exclusively work for me. I'm going to give you $500 a week and you make all the beats you can. And then you see that writers have gone from just part writer to 100% writer because they're not paying any money to the guy who made the beat, or they just, so it's a hard, you know what I mean? It's an undercurrent that's sucking people under, and you have to always try to evolve.
Yes.
Through those times,
Very, very true. So as a producer, because you're not just a producer, you're bloody multi-talented, you're doing everything, but just with the producer hat on, you're, I think, am I right to say that your key objective, besides being gelling with the artists or clients, would be to secure your points? Is that right?
Well, to secure your rights. I mean, if you, and then a lot of people don't understand, you kind of have to make sure you get your writers and your publishing right away. You know what I mean? Because that's the first thing someone's going to try to strip you down on. They're going to, hey, like say, I heard a guy one time said, look, man, I don't even need a beat, like people, they just want to give me their music for free. You know what I mean? Just so they can be on it.
Yeah.
And you really can't compete with that if you're trying to, be in the business. So what do? You have to say, okay, I have to create my own artist. I have to create my own zone. I have to create my own lane. I have to create my own whatever, because I'm not just going to continue to give away tracks or beats or production or whatever to be, because like it goes back to that thing I was telling you, whoever spends the most time with the artist, like say you give a beat to Jay-Z, and me and Jay-Z hang out every day. We play ball, we do this, we do that, and he tells you he likes your record. It's gonna be on his next album. And I'm with him every day. I'm like, man, you like that track? I can give you something way hotter than that, man. Come on, you be playing yourself, Jay. And eventually he's gonna be like, okay, man, what you got? You know what I mean? So it's like you can never really compete. You gotta find a niche, and you gotta get to a point where you can just demand stuff, because I mean that's all it's worth. That's all it is anyway. Because the people on the other side of the table are going to try to convince you that you're worthless and you should be happy we're giving you a shot, and you're going to be like me when I was trying to tell them R&B and hip hop need to they can't go together. You know what I mean? So
wow. Right. This is a deep question as well. Is there anything in life where you, where you've had a particular viewpoint on something, let's say as a musician or as a producer, but you've changed your view on something where you were wrong, and you feel damn I was wrong about that?
Yeah, you know what? Let me tell you, and this happened a long time ago. And because, like I told you, I was blessed enough to be around certain guys and hear what they have to say. Russell Simmons once told me, he said, never think you know everything.
Yeah.
He said, never think you know everything. Even when you don't understand it or you don't like it, try to understand why and what's making it what it is. You know what I mean? Because as musicians and producers, we will not say you don't like mumble rap,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
He said, never turn just a blind
eye, a
blind ear to it. Like, oh, that's garbage, I didn't listen to. He said, try to understand what people see in it and, what makes it successful. And then you can actually use that, add that to your arsenal. And I was like, because, like for him, he was like, he wasn't, he couldn't have never created Run DMC and made it what it was, but he saw that to other people, it was, you know what I mean? It was marketable, and he saw what they got from it. So he used that to to his advantage. So when you hear, music that you think is garbage and whatever, and like I was saying, the lyrics are just lying time. There are people that are on that level that don't, that was great for them. You know what I mean? Like I got it the first time. He said, when I gave you all my time because you were on my mind. It was like, wow, And so you have to and another thing that like Barry Gordian would say is that entertainment is on the first grade level. You have to keep it. You can't make it where it's too, you know what I mean, where people don't get it. And that's what I was saying about Devil in My Arms.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe a little much for some people to get it. But if you get it, then that's fantastic. You know what I mean? So
I'm going to be honest with you, Binky. I've never heard a track like that. And I'm a radio guy. I get a lot of music sent to me. I'm telling you, that track, like, it resonated with me. And I think many guys out there, it'll resonate with them too, because they're in a bad situation, stuck with some woman, and they're worried about their kids. And you're thinking, oh, my life.
Exactly. And you're doing all this extra stuff, to compensate. And then, my favorite line is like, I had this vision, like, the guy's coming home from work. He's tired. He's standing at the door. And the silhouette scene where the exorcist before the priest is standing at the bottom of the stairs, hearing all the growling and a guy standing there with his briefcase about to go in the house, and it's just like stuff flying around, and he's like standing like, oh god. Then he goes into the house.
Okay, so basically, we have actually hit the 2 hour limit. It's not a limit. It's not a limit. I think. Hopefully, as an interviewer, I think hopefully I've been decent, because I'd imagine you've been interviewed many times, and hopefully I would have asked you a question that you maybe haven't been asked before. But who knows? But as an interviewee, you are fabulous. And okay, so could you please give everyone your socials?
Oh, everything is Binky Womack. I'm on Instagram as Binky Womack, Binky_Womack, Facebook as Binky Womack, and you will see. I haven't got Facebook down because I don't know. I have like every time it gets to like 5,000 people or something, they just start another Facebook or something. So I have like you'll probably see like 3 or 4 or 5 Binky Womack Facebooks. They're all mine. I check them all. There's BinkyWomack.com.
Yes, yeah.
That's my website. And then there's Binky Womack LA.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think those are all the sites. BinkyWomackLA.com is the older site, and BinkyWomack.com is a newer site. You can get more up-to-date information. The LA.com one updates slower,
Yeah.
But that one, the .com is faster, and it has like everything. What it's shirts and the records or anything that you might want. If you have any questions or you want to book me or anything, you can. When booking starts to happen again.
Yes.
When people can stand in the same room, you can get me through there.
Wow. Could I please ask you a favor, please, Binky?
Yeah.
Please, could you say, this is Binky Womack on RadiAsian.London.
This is Binky Womack on RadiAsian.London.
I think you nailed it, man. That's the true Womack way. It's true. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'd like to thank everyone, who's supporting the record. And if you haven't picked it up, please go out and pick it up. It's if you like any Womack music, like if you like Womack and Womack or any Bobby Womack songs at all, anything like that, or you grew up in the 80s and the 90s, you like, there's probably the same things that I like. you know, you'll like this record. You'll like the Last Valentino. Pick it up. It's out now.
Dear Binky, just thank you so much. You've been an amazing individual, and you are. And I will be putting the show together later on today. I'll be presenting, and I would say I'd add this 2-hour interview to the thing because it's big, but I could leave this as the YouTube link. I'll give the link to it because
cool.
it's brilliant. And thank you, thank you so much for phoning into RadiAsian, the #1 station for the Asian invasion. And
thank you for having me. I'm gonna send you that version of Gravity.
Please. I'm going to be going live with the radio show in about an hour.
Oh, okay.
So if you can send it within an hour or whatever, but I think you need. It's nice for you to have a relax now because you've been on here, been interrogated by me for 2 hours and all, and.
Man, it's been wonderful. So stay safe, and talk to you again soon.
God bless you, Binky.
You too. Take care.